Alright, clickbait title out of the way. I wanted to talk about Dyatlov Pass and why people should stop calling it a mystery by this point. We more or less know what happened to Igor Dyatlov and his fellow hikers thanks to modern science taking a crack at things, as well as the software behind the movie Frozen. I don't have to give a summary on Dyatlov Pass, it's a pretty well-known mystery by this point, hence this video, but I want to pad out the runtime. In 1959, these 9 experienced hikers died under mysterious circumstances in Russia's Ural Mountains. Their tent was slashed from the inside, their bodies scattered in the snow, missing eyeballs and tongues and all that, as well as a couple items being slightly radioactive. For decades, the mystery was soaked in weird conspiracy theories like UFOs, secret weapons, even Yetis. I'll explain the radioactivity right away, since it's cause for a lot of more outlandish conspiracies, especially the UFO involvement. One of the hikers named Yuri Krevenchenko, who worked at Chelyabinsk 40, a nuclear site. The effects of radiation were not as well known as they are now, so his body being coated in mildly radioactive material should not be as big of a mysterious point as it is today. Chelyabinsk 40 is also the site of the Kishtim disaster, a nuclear leak that resulted in the deaths of 200 and the evacuation of over 12,000 people. I may talk about it in a later video if this one gains any traction, but who knows. One of the biggest points people cite for this mystery is the fact that there was lots of blunt force trauma as well as broken ribs without any external injuries, though this can be explained by the latest major breakthrough coming out of a study in 2021. Engineers working for the Swiss Federal Technical Institute ran a simulation with the help of the engine used to run Disney's Frozen, and found that an avalanche could more than likely cause the type of trauma that we see, as well as the fact that their tent was cut open from the inside and slightly buried in the snow. In 2019, authorities for the Russian Federation decided to reopen the case and also went with the avalanche theory, citing the location of the bodies being huddled under trees and or buried in the snow coincide with hypothermia and confusion after being awoken by an avalanche. I can understand not wanting to trust the Russian Federation with anything that might make them look bad, but one of the early criticisms of the avalanche theory was that the slope wasn't steep enough. The recent satellite imagery as well as 3D terrain mapping tell a different story, however. The area isn't flat, it's about 9 to 15 degree slope, and just enough for a snow slab to build and break off, especially with strong katabatic winds. I'm not just going to use a weird $5 term like that without explaining it. Katabatic winds are gravity-driven winds that occur when cold, dense air flows downhill from higher elevations as well as mountains or glaciers. Cold air forms at high latitudes, especially at night, becoming much denser than the surrounding air. Gravity pulls them downwind, and then the wind can become very strong and sudden with no warning. All this shit is perfect for explaining why the idea of a sudden avalanche could have awoken the hikers, and in their confusion they died of hypothermia. Much better than believing aliens abducted them or a Yeti ate their eyeballs. Well, the one theory I used to believe is the idea that they were caught in the path of a secret weapons test, resulting in the radiation and the weird trauma. But this doesn't hold up to scrutiny either. There's no craters, no radiation outside of Yuri's body, and that could be explained by his job at a plutonium plant or the residue of any weapons being used. A secret shadowy government is not a compelling theory, especially when it's just an excuse used to fill in lack of information. The state of the bodies missing their eyes and tongues is part and parcel with their states of decomposition. Eyes and tongues are very delicate tissues, and they're typically the first to go when bodies start to rot. Not to mention animals in the area could have taken a nibble at their flesh when they died. Those areas are some of the easiest for animals to get at after all. All in all, I really don't think there's anything nefarious going on as far as the Soviet government was concerned. Cover-ups still leave evidence, and there was none of that to suggest any organized suppression was going on with the Dyatlov case. I know this case will never be 100% solved, none of us were there, and no one's alive to tell us what really happened that night, but even then, I see people citing the state of their bodies and the slight radioactivity to propagate the big old mystery. I would say Dyatlov Pass is at least 98% solved. Alright, that's the end of the video. I wanted to keep this short and sweet. I'm just starting out as a VTuber and I'm throwing content at the wall to see what sticks. Plus I just really wanted to talk about Dyatlov Pass in particular. I'm Emmy the Desert Hare, and if you like this video consider subscribing. I'll see you next time.